If you want to find the absolute best place in America to charge an electric vehicle today, you shouldn't go to Silicon Valley.
Right.
You shouldn't go to Austin, and you shouldn't go to Seattle. You should pack up and drive to Wyoming.
Which, I mean, that defies basically every assumption we have about the electric vehicle transition.
But
right? Especially considering the tech-heavy reputation of all those other hubs.
Completely upside down.
Yeah.
And that perfectly sets the stage for what we are doing today. Because, you probably notice EVs everywhere lately.
Oh, yeah, they're on every street.
Right. The cars look incredibly sleek. The charging stations are popping up in your local grocery store parking lots. And from the outside, it just looks like a done deal.
Like the future is already here.
Exactly. You just plug the car in, it charges, and you drive away. But behind that plug is a completely invisible, highly strained web of grid hardware, robotics, and digital communication that is quietly struggling to keep up with the cars on the road.
And we are looking at a fascinating stack of data for this deep dive today. We've got everything from the Department of Energy's 2026 grid studies to some highly technical research from the EVS 38 symposium.
The bidirectional charging stuff.
Yes, exactly. Plus, we've got industry guides on charging as a service and robotic fleet charging. And when you look at all this information together, a totally different narrative emerges.
Yeah.
This isn't just an automotive story anymore. It's a massive, unprecedented infrastructure challenge.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because before we get into the futuristic robotic charging arms and the overheating power grid, we really have to look at the bizarre reality on the ground right now.
The geography of it all.
Right. According to the comprehensive state-by-state 2026 EV infrastructure reports, the U.S. just crossed 4.5 million electric vehicles on the road.
Which is a massive jump.
Yeah, a 26.7% jump from the previous year. And surprisingly, the raw number of public charging ports is actually keeping pace, sitting at over 242,000.
And the year-over-year growth in specific regions is just staggering. I mean, Michigan alone saw a 50.7% growth in EV registrations as domestic production ramped up.
Wow, half again as many in 1 year.
Exactly. While a state like Connecticut managed to grow its charging network by over 83% in a single year.
But, and here's where it gets weird, the moment you look at the density, like the actual ratio of chargers to vehicles, the map gets incredibly strange.
It really does.
Think about California. They lead the nation with over 1.5 million EVs. That's 12% of all their registered private automobiles. You'd think they have the most accessible charging network.
I think so, yeah.
But the math flips your expectations upside down.
Yeah.
It's actually Wyoming and North Dakota that have the best charger to EV ratios in the entire country.
Sitting at over 21 chargers for every 100 EVs.
Yeah. Meanwhile, states pushing really hard for clean energy like Hawaii and New Jersey have the worst ratios. They're hovering around a dismal 3.3 or 3.4 chargers per 100 cars.
And, this isn't a mapping error. It really highlights the unique geographic and logistical hurdles of building this infrastructure.
How so?
Well, Wyoming and North Dakota have phenomenal ratios, primarily because they have so few EVs. Wyoming has roughly 1,500 registered electric vehicles in the entire state.
Oh, wow. So it's basically a giant buffet with only 3 guests.
That is a perfect way to put it. They've aggressively prioritized placing chargers along major interstate corridors to prevent range anxiety for travelers coming through, but local adoption just hasn't caught up to the hardware.
While Texas and Hawaii are like a crowded theme park with one food stand.
Exactly. Hawaii has the exact opposite problem. They have massive consumer adoption, but they are dealing with a highly constrained island geography and an isolated power grid that makes rapid infrastructure expansion incredibly difficult.
And the funding for all this hardware is just as complicated as the geography.
Oh, the funding is a maze.
Right, so you have the National Electric Vehicle Infrastructure Program, or NEI, which had billions of federal dollars allocated to build out this nationwide network.
The billions.
Yet, as of early 2026, states have only managed to spend about 2% of their $4.4 billion allocation.
2%? That's wild.
Permitting delays, supply chain issues, utility coordination, they're completely dragging out the timelines. On top of that, former President Trump's proposed 2027 budget aims to remove $500 million from the NEVIA program entirely and end EV tax credits.
And that proposed budget shift has already triggered significant legal action.
Right.
Currently, 16 states are suing the federal government over the refusal to approve new funding under these EV infrastructure programs.
And we should explicitly point out to you listening right now, we are just reporting the facts of these policy shifts here. We aren't endorsing any political side.
Absolutely not. We're just outlining the landscape.
Right. We're just talking about how complicated the infrastructure policy really is.
And the objective reality on the ground is that the funding landscape, which states were relying on for long-term planning, is experiencing extreme turbulence.
Which means the hardware that is getting built has to be hyper-optimized. The industry reports highlight a stark contrast in where different types of chargers are placed.
Yeah, the placement strategy is fascinating.
Right now, 90% of the chargers installed at hotels are the slow Level 2 chargers.
Makes sense?
But if you pull into a shopping center, 95% of the chargers are DC fast chargers. At gas stations, that number jumps to 99%.
Which is a huge difference.
But wait, that doesn't make sense to me. If 99% of gas station EV chargers are fast chargers, why are we overcomplicating this? Why not just rip out the gas pumps and drop fast chargers in their place one-to-one across the whole country?
I mean, it's the most intuitive solution, right? But it completely ignores the economics of dwell time.
Dwell time.
Yeah, how long you, as a driver, naturally stay at a specific location. You cannot just swap a pump for a plug, because human behavior basically dictates the hardware.
Okay, give me an example.
If you arrive at a hotel at 8 p.m. and leave at 8 a.m., your car is parked for 12 hours. Installing a $100,000 DC fast charger at that hotel is a massive waste of capital because a $2,000 level 2 charger will easily fill the battery overnight.
Oh, I see.
But at a gas station on a highway, your dwell time is maybe 15 to 45 minutes. That specific behavior requires a DC fast charger to give you meaningful range in a short window.
That makes total sense. But the real reason we can't just drop DC fast chargers on every street corner isn't just the upfront cost of the charger itself.
No, it goes much deeper than that.
It's the green box sitting at the end of your street.
The distribution transformer.
Yes.
Yeah.
Everyone walks past those green pad-mounted boxes on the ground or those gray metal cylinders up on telephone poles every day without realizing they are currently the single biggest choke point in the U.S. electrical grid.
They are the unsung and honestly highly stressed heroes of this transition.
Tell me about it.
They take the high voltage power traveling across long-distance power lines and step it down into the lower voltage power your house and your EV charger actually uses.
And there are a lot of them, right?
The U.S. has somewhere between 60 to 80 million of them. But according to the latest reports from the Department of Energy and the National Renewable Energy Laboratory, we are in the middle of an unprecedented supply chain shortage.
The numbers in the NREL report are just wild. If a utility company wants to order a new transformer today, they are facing lead times of up to 2 years.
2 whole years just waiting for equipment.
Yeah. That is a 4-fold increase in wait time from just a few years ago. And the prices have spiked anywhere from 4 to 9 times what they used to cost.
And that demand is only going to skyrocket. NREL estimates that broader economy-wide electrification will drive a 160% to 260% increase in the transformer capacity we need by 2050.
Wow.
If we just isolate the demand from electric vehicles, we are going to need 26.8 million home and work charging ports, plus another 182,000 fast charging ports.
That's a massive amount of infrastructure.
It is. Supporting that requires 45 gigawatts of dedicated transformer capacity that we simply do not have sitting in a warehouse.
Plus, we are constantly losing the ones we do have to extreme weather.
Right, the storms.
Hurricanes Katrina, Laura, and Ida wiped out thousands of traditional pole-mounted transformers across the South. Because of that, utilities are changing how they buy.
They want the underground ones now.
Exactly. They want underground pad-mounted units for better storm resilience. But that creates a massive bottleneck because it further strains the specific manufacturing lines for those pad-mounted models.
Which brings us to the executive response. Trump invoked the Defense Production Act to force a boost in domestic manufacturing of grid equipment like these transformers.
Okay.
The National Electrical Manufacturers Association has publicly supported this, calling it a necessary mechanism to onshore critical supply chains.
But there's pushback, right?
Yes. Critics point out that the DPA fund only has about $323 million left for fiscal year 2026. They are raising concerns that this limited remaining funding might be redirected toward other executive priorities aimed at boosting fossil fuel production rather than clearing the clean tech backlog.
And again, just to be crystal clear, We are not taking a stance on whether this is good or bad. We're just looking at how political priorities shift the supply chain.
Right. Our job is just to share the facts from the sources impartially.
Exactly. But wait, let me stop you there because I've read the engineering specs on these metal boxes, and distribution transformers are generally designed to last 30 to 40 years.
Usually, yes.
So if they naturally age out over 4 decades, aren't we just talking about normal, predictable replacement cycles? Why is EV charging suddenly breaking the camel's back and causing these things to fail early?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, it all comes down to the physics of thermal loading.
Thermal loading.
Yeah. Transformers aren't just passing electricity. They generate intense heat when power flows through them. Inside that metal box is a core wrapped in copper wire and submerged in oil, surrounded by paper insulation.
Wait, paper?
Literally paper. Historically, a neighborhood would have a peak power demand in the late afternoon, air conditioners running, ovens turning on, and the transformer would heat up.
Right, people get home from work.
Exactly.
Right.
But at night, people went to sleep, demand dropped to almost zero, and the transformer had 6 to 8 hours to physically cool down. That nightly cooling period is exactly what allows the internal paper insulation to survive for 40 years.
So we are essentially taking away their chance to sleep.
Precisely. Now, introduce a neighborhood where 4 or 5 houses buy an electric vehicle. Everyone gets home from work at 6 p.m. and plugs in their car.
And those chargers pull a lot of juice.
A standard level 2 home charger can pull as much continuous power as an entire house. Now, that neighborhood transformer is running at near maximum capacity all through the night to fill those massive batteries. It never gets its cooling off period.
Oh, man.
That constant elevated heat literally cooks the paper insulation inside the transformer, drastically shortening its lifespan from 40 years down to maybe 10, and massively increasing the risk of a premature blowout.
We are literally cooking the grid from the inside out just by charging our cars at night. That's bonkers.
It is a major, major issue.
And that completely explains why waiting 2 years for a utility grid upgrade is a non-starter for commercial businesses. If you're a retail chain and the utility tells you it'll be 24 months to get a new transformer because they're all back-ordered or cooking themselves to death, you can't just wait.
You'd lose your competitive edge entirely.
Right. So the market is finding some incredibly creative ways to bypass the fixed grid right now.
Necessity is the mother of invention, and the workarounds we are seeing in the commercial space are shifting the entire business model of energy delivery.
Let's look at the first workaround, charging as a service, or CATES, which is detailed in a new guide from Drives.
This one is really clever.
Yeah. Imagine a national retail brand wants to offer EV charging in their parking lots to attract customers. But they look at the 2-year wait for a transformer, the massive upfront capital expenditure, and the nightmare of maintaining the software, and they just say, no thanks.
It's too much headache for a grocery store.
Exactly. Kala steps in to solve this. A specialized third-party company handles the site assessment, the utility permitting, the physical installation, the software network, and the daily maintenance.
Everything from A to Z.
Yep, the retail business doesn't buy anything. They just pay a recurring monthly subscription fee.
It's a brilliant financial maneuver. It converts a massive, complex, capital expense buying hardware into a simple, predictable operating expense.
Which accountants love.
Right. The host business retains the brand halo of offering green EV charging to their customers without needing to become an electrical engineering firm overnight.
It's basically like AWS for EV chargers. You are just renting the infrastructure and the computing power instead of building your own server farm.
That's a really good analogy.
But then you have the consumer side of this workaround, which is mobile EV charging. The Recharge Industry Guide outlines this perfectly. This is currently a $0.57 billion market, but it is growing at roughly 29% a year.
The growth is explosive.
And the concept is wild.
Yeah.
Instead of driving to a charger, a van equipped with a massive battery pack or a generator comes directly to your parked car. It plugs in and delivers 20 to 80 miles of range in about 15 to 45 minutes.
It's incredible.
It's the 21st century equivalent of calling a buddy to bring you a jerry can of gas on the side of the highway.
That is exactly what it is. And just like calling a premium roadside service, the convenience comes at a steep premium.
It's not cheap, I'm guessing.
Not at all. The data shows mobile charging companies charging flat fees ranging from $75 to $150 per visit, or imposing very high per minute rates.
Yikes.
Yeah. It serves as an excellent safety net for emergencies, or perhaps for apartment dwellers who have zero access to home charging and face a localized outage. but relying on a mobile van for your daily commuting energy is financially ruinous.
Which means the real target demographic for these mobile battery vans isn't the average commuter.
Exactly. The major growth area is commercial fleets.
Okay, like who?
Think about a massive delivery company or an urban rideshare fleet. Their entire profit model relies on vehicles being in motion. They cannot afford downtime.
Right, a parked van isn't making money.
If a delivery van's battery gets low, sending that driver off route to hunt for a public fast charger, which might be broken or occupied by a consumer or throttled, costs the company significant labor and lost revenue.
That makes sense.
A mobile charger can top up those vehicles directly in the depot or out in the field exactly when and where they are needed.
So if mobile battery vans are too expensive for daily consumer use, but perfect for commercial fleets, that brings up a massive operational headache.
Oh, definitely.
You have a fleet of 3,000 Waymo robotaxis rolling into a depot at 2 a.m. You can't have a guy with a jerry can running around, and you can't hire 100 human workers just to plug and unplug cables all night.
The logistics of that would be a nightmare.
The physical connection itself becomes the bottleneck. How do you solve that?
Yeah.
You completely remove the human element.
We are entering the era of the robotic depot and the bidirectional fleet. This is where the physical infrastructure and the digital infrastructure truly merge to solve the scale problem.
Let's start with the physical automation. There's a Dutch-American company called Roxys that recently raised $13 million for its M1 hands-free charging system.
I was reading about this. It's fascinating.
Why does this matter? Well, look at Waymo. They have 3,000 autonomous vehicles doing 500,000 rides a week across 10 U.S. cities.
That is a lot of plugging in.
The human labor required to physically wrestle heavy, thick, liquid-cooled charging cables in the rain or snow, plugging and unplugging these cars is incredibly expensive and prone to error.
Right.
Roxy's built the M1, which uses a single overhead robotic arm equipped with AI computer vision that slides along a rail. Instead of buying one expensive robot for every single parking spot, this one arm slides along the rail and autonomously serves up to 10 parking bays sequentially.
It is a brilliant spatial and economic solution. By automating that heavy, repetitive physical connection, a 50-bay commercial depot can save up to $1.7 million annually in labor and damage costs.
That pays for itself so fast.
It really does. The vehicles can be cleaned, loaded, or inspected by human workers while the robot quietly handles the high-voltage charging in the background, maximizing the fleet's uptime.
But the physical plug is only half the battle. The other half is digital automation, specifically bidirectional charging or vehicle-to-grid technology.
V2G.
Right. We know personal cars are parked 95% of the time. The EVS38 Symposium study looked at how we can use those massive batteries sitting in driveways to feed power back into the grid to help those overheating transformers.
Like giving the transformer a break.
Exactly. They tested a Watt-and-Well bidirectional charger using the new ISO 15118-20 communication standard, and they actually pulled it off. They successfully pulled 11 kilowatts of discharge from a Kia EV9 prototype back into their testing equipment. Because the EV9 uses a high-voltage 800-volt architecture, the charger actually had to use 2 of its power modules in series just to handle the massive flow of electricity.
It proves definitively that the hardware works. The raw physics of moving power out of a modern EV battery, converting it, and safely pushing it back into the grid is a completely solved engineering problem.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though.
Oh.
The old Japanese Shidemo plug standard has been doing bidirectional power for years. The Nissan Leaf has been able to power houses for a decade.
That's true.
If the old Japanese plug figured this out years ago, why is the modern European CCS2 plug, which is the standard the industry is largely moving toward, struggling so much to get this right?
What's fascinating here is the fundamental design philosophy behind each engineering standard.
How are they different?
Well, Chidemo was designed from day one with bidirectional power transfer in mind. CCS, on the other hand, was built to prioritize one thing above all else: incredibly fast, high-power, forward charging.
So just getting the juice into the car as fast as possible.
Exactly. The bidirectional capability was added retroactively. And the major hurdle they are facing right now isn't the physical copper wire, it is digital cybersecurity.
Right. The EVS38 study highlighted a massive encryption bottleneck.
Exactly. The new ISO standard requires a very strict security protocol called Transport Layer Security version 1.3, or TLS 1.3.
Okay, lost me a bit. What does that do?
For the public charger to pull power from the car, it has to perform a complex digital handshake. The charger must verify the vehicle's identity using root CA certificates issued by the automaker to ensure a hacker isn't trying to destabilize the power grid.
Oh, because if millions of cars are connected, a hacker could just drain them all at once or surge the grid.
Exactly. Think of it like trying to get into a highly secure building. The charger is the security guard asking for a digital ID badge. But Kia issues one type of badge, and the charger company's software only reads another.
A language barrier.
Pretty much. In the EVS-38 study, the prototype EV9 worked because the engineers manually bypassed some of the encryption for testing. But when they plugged in production models of the EV9 and the EV3 straight off the lot, the test completely failed.
Just flat out failed.
Yeah. Because there is no universal standard for the certificates yet, the security guard just locks the door and the transaction is blocked.
So we had this incredible world-changing potential, millions of massive batteries sitting idle in driveways that could easily stabilize our overheating distribution transformers during peak hours, and we are being stopped by a digital security certificate.
Until the global automotive and charging industries standardize how these root CA certificates are managed and cross-signed between car manufacturers and utility operators, our parked cars will remain just cars rather than the massive distributed grid batteries we desperately need them to be.
So what does this all mean for us? We started today in Wyoming, looking at how simply having fewer cars creates the illusion of the best charging network in the country.
The buffet with 3 guests.
Right. We dove into the physical realities of the electrical grid, realizing that our habit of plugging in at 6 p.m. is slowly cooking 60 million distribution transformers from the inside out.
Taking away their sleep.
We explored the commercial pivots, like AWS-style charging as a service and massive battery vans roaming cities to rescue delivery fleets. And finally, we look at the bleeding edge, robotic arms sliding on rails to keep robo-taxis moving, and the invisible digital handshakes that are currently preventing our cars from powering our homes.
It really is a profound shift in how society interacts with and distributes energy.
And that is exactly why this matters to you listening. Whether you are currently shopping for an EV, looking at investments in infrastructure, or honestly, just expecting your lights to turn on when you flip the switch in your kitchen at night, this invisible web of hardware, software, and grid mechanics impacts your daily life and your wallet.
The transition to electric mobility is forcing a complete, real-time redesign of a century-old electrical grid.
Which leaves us with one final, slightly provocative thought to mull over. Let's say we do solve these software issues.
Let's hope so.
We get the TLS 1.3 encryption working seamlessly, and millions of cars become a decentralized, bidirectional battery network connected to the grid. Who truly owns that stored energy?
That's the million-dollar question.
Imagine you plug your car in at a public mall charger. Could the local utility dynamically borrow 10% of your car's power to stop a neighborhood blackout while you are inside the mall?
Without even asking you.
Right. And if they do, how exactly will you be compensated for the invisible wear and tear on your car's highly expensive battery while you're just inside buying shoes?
This raises an important question about the future of energy ownership and really where the line between private property and public utility is drawn.
It certainly does. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the source material. We will see you next time.